All right, friends. I'm so happy and excited to see so many familiar names and faces in our Zoom today for our housing internship program orientation for interns. My name's Spencer Giese. I'm an educational program manager at ACUHO-I. I also serve as the director of the internship program on the tech side. And so many of you have reached out over the past months, interested in internships, trying to figure out our system, asking all the right questions, and you've gone through the process, you've interviewed for positions, and you've been accepted. And I'm thrilled that you're joining us for orientation. I'm going to pass over my co-facilitator, Yolande.
Good morning, folks, or good afternoon, wherever you are. Really excited that you are here and you are joining us. My name is Yolande Graham. I am the chair of the Housing Internship Program Committee this year. And I am, again, excited, like Spencer, that you're spending some time with us to kind of orient yourself to the experience you're about to have this summer. I'm going to now turn it over to a couple of our committee members from the Housing Internship Program Committee who are going to also be presenting today. So I'm going to ask Aspen, John, and David to introduce themselves to you all, and then we will kind of dive into the content for the session.
Hi,
Aspen.
everyone. My name is Aspen Shackelford. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the chair-elect for this committee. And so I am super excited to see you all's faces and be here with you today.
Hi, folks. My name is John Moore. I use he, him, his pronouns. Excited to meet you all and talk to you all about the housing internship program.
Hi, everyone. My name is David Maldonado. My pronouns are he, him, his. I serve as a second-year graduate community director at Clemson University.
Awesome. And if you all want to go ahead and kind of just drop your name and where you are currently in the chat, we would also love to start to facilitate some communication and connection between you and other folks that are going to be doing the internship this year. So to dive in, really our goals for this session are to help you to start to think about the experience you're going to have as part of your ACUHO-I internship and to provide some prompts to help you get that thinking and reflecting ahead of time done so that you're feeling more prepared coming into the experience you're going to have at whatever campus or whatever internship experience you're heading to. We will spend the most of this time kind of talking through different content areas, and then we will have an open forum kind of Q&A at the end. And then we'll share a couple of opportunities that you can continue to stay engaged with us throughout your internship after that. So I'm going to turn it back over to Spencer because one of the things that's really important for us is we want to help you to get connected and stay connected with ACUHO-I, and this internship is a good starting place. So Spencer, take it away.
Sure, happy to. Yes, thank you for starting your potentially your professional career in housing and in higher education with ACUHO-I and with the internship program. Thankfully, you've got this orientation session, which is some programmatic development that the committee's put on for you all. And we are also having an internship summit later on in the summer that you'll be hearing about at the end of today's presentation. I do want to note that today's session is being recorded. So if you've got friends, colleagues, future colleagues as interns this summer that are unable to make today's recording or today's session, we will have a recording that will pass out after the fact. So don't worry if you have to duck out early or if you're missing that. I'm also loving all the folks that are chatting about where they're currently at, where they're going in the future. And Serena, I did my undergrad at Minnesota, and that's great. And I had my first professional job at St. Cloud State. So big shout out to you. I know both those campuses so well. What you'll find in the professional ranks in housing is that there are a number of regional associations that are affiliated with the ACUHO-I. So for example, if you're in Minnesota, the state of Minnesota, you'll be in the upper Midwest region called UMR ACUHO. If you're in the Great Lakes area, you'll be in GLA-ACUHO, Great Lakes ACUHO. And there's also a number of city and metropolitan areas that will be looking to connect with folks over the summer. I know one of the valuable parts of us connecting you all as interns now and in our summit is to find out who is in your area, in your vicinity this summer that you could connect with, learn from, and potentially create friendships and networks as you move forward in this career path. We also, you'll see And now that you're having a ACUHO-I membership and a ACUHO-I profile, you'll start to receive some emails from us. Those are great. One of the best tools we see in the field is our daily digest, where typically you get an email of everything that's happened in the online community for ACUHO-I the previous day. You can see the hot topics that people are chatting about. You can also ask questions there for good of you and for good of wherever you're working. If you've got a question that you'd like to kind of group think on, the online community is a great place to put that. And I'll tell you, we just got a brand new website at ACUHO-I, ACUHO-I.org. It's brand new. I'm still learning how to figure it out. So I'm sure if you go on there, you're like, wow, this looks nice. And where is everything? We're gonna have to click around and figure it out, but it is a nice new WordPress-based website that will have a large number of opportunities for events and engagements moving forward. At any point, if you're ever on a ACUHO-I webpage, and I've said this a million times in this group, but I'll say it again, there's a purple chat box in the bottom right-hand corner. You ever need to get a hold of me or someone from the office right away, click on that purple chat box, say what you need, and we will, as a real human being, connect with you. It's not AI, it's humans. So look forward to connecting with you all there if you ever have a question that comes up that you're looking for help or resources on. So keep it in the chat, keep chatting up with one another, see who might be in a similar area to you this summer. And I can't wait to see and hear about all that you'll do in your internships. Throwing it back over to Yolande.
Thank you, Spencer. So now we're going to dive into our first of kind of 3 sections that we are going to focus our time on this morning. So first is, orienting yourself. Hold on a second. It seems there it is. Okay. Orienting yourself to a new place. So there are things that we know are questions that interns often need to be asking at the beginning of their experience, but maybe don't think to ask until maybe midway through or maybe after the fact, and maybe I should have known this ahead of time. So we're going to spend some time here talking about things that you should be thinking about and questions you should be asking your supervisors connected to those things. So first, getting to know the area you're going to be in. It's really important that you do your research. I know you may have looked at the position description and through the portal. You might have looked at, maybe some of the fun things in the area, but also think about, grocery stores, other things that you might need, local attractions if you want to, go out and do something, restaurants. Also focus on, is there medical care in the area? So in case you need to go to an urgent care, is there one nearby? Are there cities nearby that you might be interested in visiting? Spend some time looking at the place you're going to be in, because while you will be doing a lot of work on the campus that you're assigned to, you will also have opportunities to kind of step away from some of that workspace and to see the environment that the university operates in. And that can be a really good supplemental experience to the internship that you're going to be doing. So a few questions that we encourage you to ask of a supervisor, ask them about the summer accommodation. So you may have seen some information about it in the position description, but I think this is a great time for you to kind of get into the specifics. So what exactly is the living space going to be looking like? What is the extent of the meal plan? Do you need a parking pass, or can you get a parking pass? Are there on-campus resources that you would have access to? So would you be able to go to the fitness center? Would you be able to use the health center resources? Is there a particular dress code or expectation for the space that you will be working in? So these are some of the questions that we want you to kind of start to bring into conversations that you're having with a supervisor, both while you're preparing to go to your internship location, but also that's really good for like first conversations you're having once you are on campus as well. Turn it over to Aspen.
Thank you. So as you are at your internship this summer, there's a lot of things you'll want to consider around finances. You're here for a short time, but there's things that you'll probably want to do, spend some money on, and then also just some expenses that you probably won't be able to get away with not having to pay for some things. And so you really want to think about how you are going to plan ahead for that as best as possible. The first thing is thinking about your access to money. So is this an opportunity where you can get direct deposit for your payments, or are you given one check, And so thinking about how you're getting that money. If you're getting checks, you might want to look up if your local bank is available in this area, or do you need to find an alternative way, maybe mobile depositing, or even getting a bank account at a bank that is available to you during this time so that you have access to money. Some other things you'll want to think about is budgeting. So some of those things that Yolian mentioned in the previous slide about like access to a parking pass, if that's something you have to purchase or something you have to think about throughout your time at your internship, you'll want to budget ahead and make sure you have that money available for that. Or even like a gym membership if that's something that you have to do outside of the institution, things like that. And then also thinking about expenses that you might be coming to your internship with. So if you're maintaining a lease somewhere, you'll want to make sure you still have money to pay for that lease so that you still have housing when you return from your internship and things like that. So you'll definitely want to look at the money that you are getting and think about how you want to budget that accordingly so that you can pay for everything you need to pay for, but also have some fun. So thinking about that fun, thinking about meals, are there restaurants you want to try? Or even do you have to go grocery shopping to cook your meals? And so thinking ahead about how much you want to budget weekly or bi-weekly or monthly for groceries. And then also how you're going to plan your time accordingly to make your meals and also maintain the expectations for your job while you're at your internship. And then fun. You all are having a unique opportunity to go somewhere new for most of you. And so I'm sure there's some things you'll want to see when you're in that new area and some things you'll want to do. So definitely make sure you're thinking about how you might be able to save some money for some of those fun opportunities when you're not working. And so in thinking about that, these are good questions to start asking your supervisor before you even get to your internship. And so direct deposit, working with your supervisor or with HR to figure out, is that an option for you? Again, thinking about kind of what the living arrangements will look like, and that includes eating. So will you have a meal plan? If you do have a meal plan, where will that work and like what times of day? So you know if you'll have to cook your own meals at all, as well as access to a kitchen to cook meals, if that's something that you need to do. Also looking at public transportation. So if you need to get groceries, you'll definitely want to know where the nearest grocery store is, or if you have a grocery store preference by region. I know that is a controversial topic, but you'll want to think about, is that somewhere close to you? Do you have that grocery store available to you, or what is an alternative that is close in experience, I suppose. And then what are the fun things that your supervisor recommends or coworkers when you get to your internship? But definitely ask people and ask what their favorite things are to do, because that's how you get some of the best hidden gems in the new area that you're in. And I believe I'm going to pass it over to John now.
Yes. Cool. So once you get to your new campus, you get acclimated to your new area, you're going to be starting your new summer internship. So when you start your summer internship, you're going to start meeting a plethora of many different people that you are going to be brand new meeting, and you're not going to really know them. So there's some questions you're really going to need to think about to start building those relationships with your new coworkers, your new supervisees, your new supervisors. So like one of the big ones is, especially when you first meet your supervisors, what do you need from your supervisor to be successful during this internship? So one thing, for example, like for myself, that I really talked to my supervisor about was I really need my one-on-ones weekly to bi-weekly, because that just helps me process through what is going on and what I am doing in the role. I did pre-college programs for my summer internship a few years ago at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So that was a completely new area for me, a completely new idea of pre-college and what that is. So I needed to process that through with my supervisor. The next thing for me was working with undergraduate staff. That was one of my first opportunities in grad school to work with an undergraduate staff, was during my summer internship. So I was really starting to figure out what type of relationship do I want to build with that staff, and how am I going to form those connections and those relationships with them. That was kind of something that I had to talk about with my supervisor as well, of like, what are your expectations for me in this role, since I am helping like lead this staff. But then the other thing is like, what do I want to do as a staff member to build those relationships? Like, how am I going to go about that? especially because like during the summer, it's going to be go, 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 depending on what your position is. So like, when are you going to have the time to have those relationships and build those connections as well? You can go to the next slide. I think the other thing to keep in mind, and again, this relates back to my experiences, is like this is going to be for some folks your first opportunity to supervise a staff. So what does appropriate boundaries mean for you for when you are working with those students? So how are you going to build those boundaries with your supervisees, also with your peers and supervisors, because you are going to be working with a lot of folks quite a bit throughout the summer. So what does appropriate boundaries mean for yourself? What are you comfortable with? And then also, what is your supervisors, supervisees, and peers also comfortable with? That's a conversation to have, especially if there are like multiple other interns that you are working with and you need to have those conversations with them. Start off those conversations early on. Then the other big thing is once you get to know your relationships that you're building within your own team, within your supervisor and your supervisees, there is so much more to campus than just where you are working. So what are you going to be doing to build those connections and relationships with the other departments and campuses, or departments and teams on your campus? So what I recommend for you, and kind of something that I did, was looking at like interest areas and like what I am interested in, like moving forward, like when I'm going to be looking for a job the next year. And I started having conversations with folks and just talking to them and building connections and networking with them, because you're going to be forming so many connections. You're going to be networking with so many folks, and that's going to be so beneficial for you once you start looking for jobs in the future. Then the final thing to talk about building new relationships is a cohort of interns. So dependent on your internship and what your internship is, you might have a cohort of interns that are all coming in from different areas that you are going to have to build relationships with. You're going to be working throughout the day, and depending on your job, like for myself with pre-college, I woke up at 8 a.m. and worked until about 10 p.m. almost every single day throughout the summer. So like, what does my relationship, what do I want that to look like with my peers outside of those work hours? You only have so many of them. So you really need to figure out like what you are comfortable with and what you need. So like, do you want to hang out with them after work? Or like, what type of boundaries do you want to have with them? It's all about self-care with your internship, because again, you might be go, go, go the entire summer, or you might have a more relaxed summer, but you want to make sure that you are taking care of yourself and you have self-care for when you are working with your cohort of interns. And then like previously, we have some questions for you to ask your supervisor. So like, what are some boundaries within the department that I need to be aware of? Each department at each university is different when it comes to what those boundaries look like. So make sure to have that conversation openly and just talk to your supervisor about that. Then the other question is, are there expectations for how you will work with any departmental partners during your internship? So supervisors can be quite different. So if you're working with departmental partners, sometimes your supervisor will just be like, you can go ahead and form that connection and reach out to them yourself. But sometimes they want to be the person to connect you with them, or be the point person between you and your departmental partners. So have those conversations so you know what the boundaries are again within your department. But yes, and I think I'll be passing it over to David now.
Hi everyone, David again. I just want to also start with I'm in the middle of COVID right now, so if you can't quite hear me, please let me know, and I'll do my best to kind of like repeat if need be. I also want to start off my portion of this by saying I did a ACUHO-I internship last summer with the University of Washington in Seattle. I had a lovely cohort of other interns with me, and setting those boundaries was definitely like an experience because you kind of want them to be your friend, but you also want to network with them. So it's definitely a good time. But the portion I'm about to talk about is being a professional on a new campus. We as a committee developed a new housing internship program workbook that we're rolling out this year. We're going to talk a little bit about learning institutional context and culture. What does goal setting look like? And then reflecting on your experience as you're there and after you leave. So the workbook that we've created is a guided journal almost for you and your supervisor to kind of work through as you got your placement for your internship. You're going to navigate what does it look like at your internship, and then how are you going to take things from your internship after you're finished and apply it to where you're heading. We deliberately made these 3 sections so that you reflect critically on where you're at developmentally before you head to your internship, and also how are you going to change and mold yourself at your internship. In terms of learning new institutional context and culture, one thing that I had to learn was I'm from the South. My school's at the South, so a lot of people say yes, sir, yes, ma'am. And my internship site was in Washington. So learning how to navigate pronouns and making sure that I'm being respectful of my peers and also the people I'm working with, and ensuring that I'm not just sticking to a standard of yes or yes, ma'am, was important for me, but also understanding where my political navigation was and how I'm navigating that as I get there. That also looks like, what does the office do on a day-to-day basis? How are people interacting with one another? And are you observing it? Are you being involved? It's very critical to understand what the dynamic is of a culture in the department by making sure that you're observing. Also, as you're navigating this new experience for yourself, it could be very easy to say, at my institution or at my undergrad institution. Try to avoid saying that, because you're giving yourself one way that you've seen something done, and you think that that's like the golden way that you've learned. But you're going to learn so many new tips, tricks, and skills as you're balancing that, and also seeing how other institutions navigate what residential life looks like. And that kind of comes with being open to learning. Like, you're going to hear a lot of new ideas, a lot of new things that you may have never explained or had the experience of working with. So being open to hearing what others are saying and understanding that your answers are great, but also there's a whole room of answers that you could learn from. I've seen a question in the chat regarding the workbook and where it's located. Um, Following this meeting, we're going to probably send a follow-up email with the workbook in it. So stay tuned. It will be sent to you all in a PDF format as well. In the workbook, we talked a little bit about goal setting at the very beginning with personal and professional goals. It's important for yourself to constantly want to develop in a way that is moving forward and ensuring that you are gaining new skills and making sure that you're on a developmental path that you are successful with. So at the beginning, we talk a little bit about what are your personal, what are your professional goals, what steps are you going to take, but also what does success look like? Because at times it's easy to set a goal and say, this is what it's going to be, and this is the end result. But at times you may not hit that end result, but what skills are you gaining from it? And do you still feel like you gain a sense of understanding from what you were doing? Throughout the workbook, midway through, there's a goal update where you're in your internship. You could talk a little bit about where you at with your personal and professional goals, and if you need to edit them, because at times, like, you may think your goal can be achievable, but given the time frame of when you're there, that's also important as well to figure out. Okay, maybe this wasn't a timely goal for me to set for this summer, and this is something I can continue after my internship. And I think that that also comes with, how are you going to share that with your supervisor and ensuring that your supervisor knows what you want to achieve by being at this institution, but also how are you going to showcase that on your resume whenever you're done with this experience? Because it's important to say, like, oh, yes, I've done an ACUHO-I internship. That's great. But also, what skills are you gaining from that internship that's different from what you're gaining in your assistantship at your current institution or heading into your current institution? And also, how do these goals intersect with, your grad program goals that you're setting, or your professional goals that you're trying to set as you're navigating leaving grad school, entering grad school, or in the midst of grad school?
All right, so we've been kind of talking and sharing a lot of information. The last piece that we kind of want to spend some time on here in this section is reflecting on the experience. the workbook, and shout out to David because he's done a lot of really great work on our workbook along with a couple of other members of our team. But the workbook is really focused on helping you to be reflective throughout this experience. There's a lot of stuff that you're going to learn, but sometimes you learn stuff and forget them because you haven't spent the time to think about them. And so we've really tried to build in space for you to do some of that reflection and also to invite your supervisor into that. So here are a few of the questions that we want you to kind of be thinking about now and to consistently think about as you're going through your experience. So what do you plan to bring back to your campus once you have completed your internship? How do you plan to incorporate what you've learned from your internship at your assistantship, in your class work, and in your professional work experience as well? And then what are things that you learned about yourself during the experience? So what are things that you want to grow and learn about, things that impressed you about yourself? And then how will you elaborate and explain these experiences in a future job interview? This internship experience is going to offer you the opportunity to practice a lot of things to grow your skills and to help you, prepare for that next step after you've completed grad school. So really be thinking about how would I talk about this great work that I'm doing in an interview to people that may not have the context for what I did day to day. And then last, how will you continue to build the connections you have made? So what would you tell your pre-internship self about the internship and how to prepare? So things to kind of keep in mind. I will say now, I'm going to kind of pause for a minute. I'm going to encourage you to grab a pen and paper, or if you're not watching this or engaging on your phone, to open up a notes app on your phone and actually take some time. We've given you a lot of information so far in this session, but we really do want you to begin to do that pre-reflection piece. So think about some of the things that we've talked about and respond to this question. What do you want to be able to talk to your internship supervisor about in your first meeting? So thinking back over, orienting yourself to the space, to personal finances, navigating relationships, and then also navigating the professional environment that you're going to be in. And we'll give you all about, let's say, about 5 minutes. So around 12:35 is when we'll kind of all come back together as a group. But please take this time to really think about what you want to take away from this orientation session that you can take into a first meeting with an internship supervisor. All right, I'm going to bring us back. I hope you were able to do some good reflection, thinking about what you want to bring into conversation with a supervisor. So to move us forward, we're going to share some upcoming development opportunities that we will have over the summer and following the internship. So I'm going to turn it over to Aspen to share more about our summit.
Thank you. Yeah, so we want you all to still have the opportunity to connect with each other even once you start your internship experiences. And so we will be hosting the virtual intern summit on June 12th from 12 to 5 p.m. And so that is an opportunity for you all to once again connect with each other virtually and hear about your experiences so far. But then also to hear from current professionals in the field. So this is also a really unique and awesome professional development opportunity to hear about some upcoming topics that current staff are experiencing in the field, as well as just some information about how you can continue to get involved or some things to think about in terms of what you can take from your internship experience and how to use that in future job searches or back in your home institutions. So definitely keep an eye out for more information for that.
The other opportunity that we want to share with you is that we've been working with ACUHO-I because we would love to create an opportunity for you all to share about the experiences that you're having at your internship locations. And so we have done some work with the folks that work with the talking stick to kind of create an opportunity for us to kind of feature some of you all to talk about your learning and experiences during your internships. We'll have a bit more detail about that a little bit later in the summer, but I do encourage you to be thinking about, you know, the goals you set, the things you're getting to do, the things you're getting to create as part of your internship experience, and how you might want to share that out. If you've never heard of the Talking Stick, it's one of the main publications of ACUHO-I, where professionals across the world really are writing about and sharing knowledge related to the work that we do in housing. So this would be a really great opportunity to, as a grad staff member or undergrad staff, to be published in this space. So we are now at the end of our official information that we wanted to share with you.